There has been eloquent concern for the preservation of indigenous cultures. The speaker before me was talking about the Ongis and the destruction of their culture. Sitting there, I was watching, there's a frame out here. This is a heritage where it has been vandalized by somebody who has put his signature over there. We have the so-called modern society visiting these sites and vandalizing them. On the other extreme, we have the indigenous people, the tribals. They are being invaded, and sociologists call this either vertical horizontal acculturation process as social change. I'm not an academician, neither am I a social activist. I'm a journalist. I observe the scenario, I look at things. I have my own observations to make when it comes to rightly it was pointed out, the issue should be the preservation of habitat followed by shelter, housing. So looking at habitat, I'm immediately confronted with the overall environmental scene, the status of our forests. We talk in terms of preserving the cultural identity of the indigenous people, but are we ensuring that they continue to retain the habitat in the form of the forests and jungles? When I was introduced to this sub-theme, subsistence systems combined with eco-management, and the overall theme, indigenous knowledge and subsistence systems, I immediately thought that I should avail of this opportunity, come here and speak out my observations, because the circle will not be complete if we ignore the issue of preservation of forests, where the tribals, we hope them to live. I'm truly interested as a journalist in the future of globe, which is threatened by increasing environmental degradation caused by ever-increasing pressure of mankind on the limited natural resources. The hills are fast losing their greenery, the rivers are increasingly being reduced to mere carriers of polluted water, even seas are polluted now through oil slicks, overfishing, plastics, and what the rivers get there through the humans. Many animals, marine life, bird species have already become extinct. Others are in the process of being consigned to the realm of history. The magnificent Indian tiger is facing a losing battle. There are conferences, seminars, and discussions, all voicing pious and eloquent concerns for the environment, but any serious examination of the follow-up action would indicate that the pious thoughts and sentiments have not been taken up seriously by the authority. The powers that be have repeatedly and constantly failed to take serious measures because they are generally unpopular. Instead of rigidly, firmly, and earnestly ensuring that deforestation through overexploitation, shifting cultivation, or slash and burn technology, whatever you may call it, overgrazing and illicit felling does not take place when the forests are shrinking to such an extent that we have a scenario in Western Madhya Pradesh. We have Jhabua. It's a tribal district. It was full of jungles just 3 decades ago. The other day, an environmentalist was telling me that you can compare it with a bald man's head. And the scenario is no different in other parts. You take an aerial view, go from here to Gwalior or here to Bastar. You will find as the receding hairline. The hills, they're almost like deserts. And we are reaching a scenario where the tribals have been forced to find subsistence within those depleting forest covers which we see around them. So the question arises, are we supposed to allow the political masters to let the show go on, let it be a free-for-all, let all kinds of forces act and work, and leave the tribals to their own destiny? In this scenario, it was heartening to hear the governor yesterday. He said this seminar and seminars of this kind, they should raise questions and we should try to find solutions to them and send solid solutions to the problems and act as a pressure group wherever we are around the globe and see that those solutions are not just preachings, they are also practiced. There was a time when the human population on this planet was small, the forest cover was plentiful, wildlife was abundant, rains were regular, subsoil water was more than adequate, rivers were perennial, wells were always full of water. The topsoil was rich and the weather pattern was predictable. With the passage of time, particularly during the last few decades, with the human population increasing at an alarming pace, we see that the abundant forest covers are being destroyed for meeting the growing needs of the teeming millions, and the once rich wildlife has now come down to near extinction levels. And this is happening through shooting, trapping, poisoning, through ever-increasing inroads into their natural habitat. Poaching is on the increase. In this scenario, the environmentalists feel that they can only project and highlight the hazards that lie in the unmindful and careless manner in which certain dangerous pollutant-generating industries were being located in ecologically sensitive areas, when large dams are being constructed which would submerge areas that are likely to destroy certain chains in the ecological system, or which would separate one forest area from the other, thereby reducing the habitat for certain important and endangered species, for tribals, where mining is permitted on slopes which would destroy the very character of the area, as was the case in North India we see in Mussoorie, the Mussoorie slopes, they sadden the heart when you go to Mussoorie, or rightly the Silent Valley project, the issue with the way it was raised. The problem is we find that our river system, if we look at our river system, we find that too much of water is flowing into those rivers in too short a time, flooding the banks. And now we also talk of large dams to meet the growing demands of irrigation and other things. But we will have to ensure that once the forests are not saved, there will be silting, the topsoil will go to the rivers' storage capacity, carrying capacity would be eroded, and they would continue to flood. So we have to even save our river systems. Our water table has to be saved, our river systems have to be saved. And the subsoil water we see is no longer enriched by the verdant green forests, and the subsoil water, the water table is going down and down at a very rapid pace. The situation is further aggravated by the destruction of forests through shifting cultivation. Yes, people would say, but that is the culture, their lifestyle. But we will have to check it, that we don't want to see a scenario where people are being driven out of their original habitat, they're encroaching upon the other existing forest cover, and they end up following the practice of shifting cultivation in those areas where forests have to be preserved. Now coming to Madhya Pradesh, which is the largest state in the country, has an area of 443 lakh square kilometers with about 31.5% of its total area under forest cover on paper. However, this is mere theory. On the ground, most of this area is degraded, overexploited, and systematically encroached. The official statistics are further given a lie by the National Remote Sensing Agency survey during the mapping cycle 2 decades ago. We said that only 20.37% of the area in Madhya Pradesh against 31.5% in official figures and statistics was actually under forest cover. Madhya Pradesh, with a cattle population of about 40 million, is facing ever increasing shortage of pasture area, which has got drastically curtailed over the years. In addition, the cattle from the neighboring states of Rajasthan and Gujarat also come here in search of fodder, as those states are still more deficient in green cover. As if this was not bad enough, the misfortune is further compounded by the fact that most of the pasture land is located near villages and towns, and as such continuously falls victim to encroachment for purposes other than grazing. Knowledgeable experts on forests have indicated that the progressive degradation of forests has already become a sponsored activity which suits all concerned. The people are encouraged to cut forests by not taking adequate preventive or punitive action against them. They are then encouraged to start marginal cultivation in these so-called degraded forest areas, and the agencies entrusted with the task of protecting these forests habitually turn a Nelson's eye to such continuous process of degradation. Of course, this is for a price. In the case of the lower employees, it is in the form of monetary benefits, and for the high and mighty politicians, this generates vote banks for them. Nothing could illustrate this unfortunate situation better than the fact that the present state government has already announced that all illegal occupants of forest land who through various omissions and commissions have settled in forest area till 1980 would be bestowed the status of lawful owners. This single decision of the present regime will take away lakhs of hectares of forest land from the already dwindling forest cover. What is still more alarming is the fact that such soft, affectionate and encouraging attitude towards the encroachers of forest land could encourage 10 times more to encroach on forest land, as the new encroachment would be sure that such uncalled for state magnanimity at the cost of ecological imbalance is certainly not the last of the series. Environmental experts are firm in their opinion that fuelwood extraction is one of the major reasons for depletion of forests. This requirement is so huge that the State of Forests Report 1987 for India indicates that against a total fuelwood requirement of 235 million cubic meters, the lawful supply was only 40 million cubic meters, leaving a deficit of 195 million cubic meters at an all India level. The issue is everybody who has to cook their food, they need the energy to cook it, and the source available to them is fuelwood, and this will be met through the forest, which is happening. To meet such a massive shortfall, the Wasteland Development Program had been initiated in 1985. However, the success of this program has remained dismal, and for various reasons, most of the area coming in the category of wastelands could not come up with proper forest cover, and as a result, the massive requirement of fuelwood, timber and commercial wood continues to be met from the existing forest. The progressively increasing revenues of the forest department and the ever-shrinking forest area is an eloquent testimony to this. Successive governments have failed to think in terms of providing a viable alternative to fuelwood at affordable prices. India in general, and Madhya Pradesh in particular, has massive reserves of coal, and it is anybody's guess that coal as a fuel or as a source of energy may not be required after a few decades, as within this period superior alternative sources of energy, whether in the form of solar, wind, tidal, nuclear, or thermal energy drawn from the bowels of the earth, would become available to mankind. Why not then provide coal at highly subsidized prices through the public distribution system to all, so that the requirements of fuel could be curtailed and pressure on forests could get reduced. But such subsidy would much more than merely repay itself through better forest cover, leading to better rains, soil fertility, and consequent increased agricultural production. Similarly, the requirement of wood for construction activity and furniture is the next major burden on the forest cover. Such use of timber could be severely restricted, since alternative materials in metal and plastics are now readily available. In addition, nationalization of sawmills could drastically reduce the illicit felling of timber, as it is at the sawmills that the illicitly felled log is converted into unidentifiable sawn timber. While nature remains a mute and passive spectator, each one of the actors in this game of illicit felling, from the so-called protectors to transporters to the sawmill owners and ultimately the purchasers of such illicitly sawn wood, end up making their riches. There are innumerable reported cases where numerous forest officers are being caught by the vigilance agencies possessing wealth entirely disproportionate to their known sources of income. It does not require a genius to find out from where this wealth had come, but no action is taken against their superiors who have repeatedly certified the good work and integrity of the concerned officers. Whatever remains of the once abundant forest cover in Madhya Pradesh is further threatened by the cancerous growth of the so-called forest villages deep inside the forest, as these have now degenerated into the nodal points which provide vital information and help to the illicit fellers and poachers. But because of the nature of the vested interests living in the so-called forest villages, no action is ever thought of to relocate them in the interest of the future of forests and environment, as this would be either unpopular or would be made to look unpopular by the beneficiaries of the plunder of forest wealth, including wildlife thugs, the nuclei of informers, harborers, and supporters of the illicit fellers and poachers. Despite this progressive downhill slide of ecological balance, all was still not lost if the powers that be could even now wake up to their responsibilities, so that while departing, they could leave behind them an ecological legacy capable of being sustained on a long-term basis, and not signs of havoc and degradation signaling the path of doom of humanity. Opportunity was still available to preserve, to conserve, to regenerate, and to ensure scientifically sustainable use of environmental heritage by providing alternatives to fuel wood and timber, and by making poaching and possession of wildlife remains in the form of skins, horns, and bones punishable in the most deterrent manner. I therefore address this august gathering to kindly use their immense influence in ensuring that the real problems and the practical solutions are kept in focus before the policy framers and the decision makers, so that on grounds of populism, they once again do not drift in areas which only sidetrack the crucial issues for buying time, so that the politically popular decisions are kept pending for someone in future for the short-term gains of present-day popularity at the cost of immense damage to the already critically gasping ecological imbalance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.